Welcome to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. Today, we are taking a little bit of a different direction. We have our friend Allyson here with us. She's created an incredible skincare brand, Emogene. It absolutely blows me away, like the science that is backed behind the products, and they actually work. Like they are really rooted in results, and that's what we absolutely love about Emogene. So, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Lydia. I'm excited to share everything with you guys.
Yeah. So can you just take it back and tell us about your story a little bit? Because we know that you are or originally were a pharmacist and then you transition into skincare, which is super different. And I feel like we love to talk about like the common threads or like the golden thread that led us to the point that we're at today.
Oh my gosh, this is a very long story, so I'm going to try to condense this for the purpose of this podcast. So I'm originally from Mississippi. I grew up on a really large family farm in Mississippi, about a 5,000 acre family farm. So farming is part of my heritage. It is part of this brand of really pulling ingredients from their natural purpose in the earth and then really marrying that together with science with my pharmacist background. So kind of bridging that gap between nature and science to improve the health of your skin as an organ. So it's a really beautiful kind of alchemy of all of the pieces of me and how I give back to women and men in improving the health of their skin. So after I grew up in a really large family on a family farm in Mississippi, I went to pharmacy school. After pharmacy school, my experience as a pharmacist is not in a retail setting; it's in a hospital clinical setting, seeing patients. So for 15 years, I was a neurocritical care pharmacist, and all that means is in a very intense critical care patient population. I was the pharmacist who was writing all the drug orders. I was managing all the blood levels of certain medications, giving recommendations of medications to our doctors on our ICU for these patients. So very not attributed to skincare. But the common thread here is I am a total science nerd and I love chemistry. I love medicinal chemistry and the way it works and molecules in the body. And so, what I've created with Emogene Co is a really lovely way to use all of this experience that I had been using in a completely different way and flipped it on its head and started to use that in creating skincare. So I was practicing as a pharmacist, like I said, for 15 years. After patient care, during patient care, I became a mom, and my daughter, Parker Imogene, and this is a common thread that will play throughout this story. If anyone is a mom, they know that you become a 2.0 version of yourself. You learn yourself, you become a different person. And so I started to focus a lot more of the ingredients of what I was putting on her skin, the ingredients in certain skincare, focusing on what food I'm feeding her. By no means was just a granola type of mom, just more aware and observant of what I was putting on her skin. And during this time, and anyone knows who becomes a mom, it really changes the way that you prioritize your time. As a pharmacist in a hospital, you spend a ton of time in your job. A healthcare professional is a tough career because it's giving back all day long, and then you come home and you're giving back. And I was missing a lot of time with my daughter at an early age. I transitioned into hospital administration, out of patient care, and that is when I created Imogene Co. So I was a pharmacy clinical manager. This is where I was just managing a group of pharmacists, and during that time, I think I was 38 years old. And I remember looking in the mirror and just being like, well, I guess I need to start doing something to my skin. Up until that point, I just washed my face, put a moisturizer on. And I went to a local store. I bought a really expensive vitamin C serum. And just being observant as a mom, I turned the bottle on the back and was looking at the label and noticing ingredients that, as a pharmacist and with so much chemistry experience, I was just looking at these ingredients and being like, oh, well, I see this vitamin C source. I wonder why this is used versus traditional ascorbic acid, things like that. Just the chemistry nerd started to really peak. And before I knew it, I was going to Google and I was looking into different ingredients, understanding antioxidants, understanding why these are important for skin health. And I don't know why, but in that moment, I thought to myself, this is really interesting. I wonder if I could make this myself. again, had no intention of creating a company, but I really had opened up Pandora's box of this creativity I'd put away as a kid, and started to use all of this experience through my career that I had gained to start to figure out concentrations that we need to penetrate our skin. What ingredients really work well together, which ones don't? The marketing of skincare products. Why are certain ingredients separated into different products that could work together? And so on and so forth. So when I had this moment of I could create this myself, I ordered a cute little scale from a company online. I ordered all of these different ingredients. I did all these calculations for a vitamin C serum for myself, and I told no one about it. And I was mixing my own vitamin C serum at home, felt very confident in what I was creating because of my career experience. And I ended up going to a girls' night, I think in my neighborhood. And some of my girlfriends asked me, they were like, "What are you doing to your skin? It looks really good." I've been applying this vitamin C serum for like 2 weeks. And I told them I'm creating a bootleg vitamin C serum at home. And they just laughed so hard and they were like, "Well, would you create this for us? Would you let us try?" So over the next 9 to 10 months, I became a mad scientist at home, just opening up so much creativity that I was hooked. So I was learning about essential fatty acids for our skin, antioxidants for our skin, starting to create products again with no intention of creating a business, just for personal use. I would say after about 10 months, I had another girls' night with some friends, and they had been my guinea pigs all along. And I guess they gave me enough wine at that point that they told me, "You are creating beautiful, beautiful products. You know the science behind them. You're so intentional in what you're creating. These are incredible quality products. Would you consider creating a business?" And I did. And that is how Emogene Co was born. So I was still a full-time pharmacist for the entire first year of creating the company. And I would work all day as a pharmacist, a clinical manager. I would come home, throw my stuff down, and go straight to work into really developing what Imogene Co is all about from my home. I would really identify the brand. I was hand labeling bottles. I was hand creating formulas, um, filling them with syringes. There was no advertising, no marketing, no website. It was word of mouth and social media. A very slow organic start to what has now become a thriving business, that is my number one, work baby. So I did that for a year and sat with my accountant after a year and asked her when I could go part time as a pharmacist. I was very intentional in what I wanted to create going forward. And she walked me through everything. And I stepped down as a full time pharmacist and went straight into founder and owner of my company, and hiring my team. And from there, that is when Imogene Co took off. We are a e-commerce brand. We do about 90% of our business direct to consumer online, and about 10 to 15% of our business wholesale and stockists, where people can purchase our products in a different setting, a store, a dermatology, a spa setting. And then I also private label lines for about 4 dermatology clinics across the United States right now. Our team started with just me, and now our team is 15 women. It is women run and women led. I'm very girl power, and we are a little different in what I created as the company grew. A lot of skincare companies tend to be outsourced, as in they hire a chemist, they hire a 3PL or a distributor to kind of do all of the shipping and all of the distribution of their packages. We do everything under one roof from a property that I purchased as the company grew. So we are south of Nashville, Tennessee, on a 21-acre piece of property that I purchased with our warehouse here. So we do all of our formulations from me to our assistant formulator. We do the manufacturing, fulfillment, and shipping all from here. And then the farming aspect comes in because we have our own proprietary garden on our property that's organic, that we grow a proprietary herbal blend of 3 herbs that are basically used, dried on the property, infused into a medicinal oil, and then strained off. And this really high potent anti-inflammatory oil is the base of about 6 to 7 of our products.
I am laughing behind the scenes because I know Bridget is frothing at the mouth right now. So excited to talk to you. Her favorite podcast is My First Million. And it's basically talking to companies that have like bootstrap or like grassroots their business and just created this amazing thing. She also just took an herbalism class. So I'm going to let her ask her questions, but I'm just LOLing.
I
I
love
see her
it.
face and she's like,
I
Well,
am
this is
here for it. I
amazing.
love it.
It's so amazing. Yeah, I love the story. I love this startup. One of the questions I am curious about, because I am that person who reads the labels. I'm currently pregnant, first child, but have had a journey with health.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's very exciting. So I'll definitely be the label reader, but I'm curious, like, what was the first when you looked at the products that you were using on your skin to what you wanted to create? Like, what were you noticing was the difference in ingredients? Like, what should people be thinking about when it comes to what they're putting on their skin? Because I think this is a topic not a lot of people know about.
I feel like education of skincare is lacking in kind of the perspective of actual education for the consumer to know how to choose what is good versus what is not. I think there is so much inundation and saturation in many markets, and specifically in the skincare space, of more of this marketing to sell and just to buy products. And before you know it, as a consumer, you're sitting with 30 products with no idea how to layer the skincare appropriately, what ingredients do and do not work well together, which ones are there for the benefit of improving your skin, and which ones are just there as filler ingredients. So, what I noticed as I started to really grow into this space, which is a big purpose of the integrity and the mission of our brand, is to make sure that there is a purpose behind every single ingredient. What I was noticing as a consumer, if you turn on the back of a label and it's just a plethora of ingredients, there's a lot of fragrance. There are a lot of filler ingredients that actually help with just the look or the feel of a product that are not necessarily a bad ingredient per se, but they are not there for a purpose. And our skin is our largest organ. Now, there's a lot of misinformation out there about what can actually be absorbed through the skin versus what cannot. And that's where my science and pharmacist hat, I get to put that on and be very intentional about the education with our customers, but about what I'm choosing to formulate skincare with. So I think that's really what I noticed was a lot of filler, a lot of fragrance, a lot big preservatives, which are needed for really large companies that are creating, 5 to 10,000 units of a product, and they're sitting them on a shelf for a prolonged period of time. What we do as a small business and as more of like an indie skincare brand is we have 25 SKUs, and that's just 25 units, or I'm sorry, 25 products that we currently have. And we never make more than 400 to 500 of each unit at a time, which allows us to make the freshest, most efficacious skincare that there is. We are consistently compounding every single day. We are consistently shipping every single day. So a lot of the growth is through this word of mouth of the fresh, efficacious ingredients and how they actually affect the skin as an organ, rather than it just being a pretty label and a nice feel or aesthetic. There's a purpose behind every one of our ingredients, even down to our very broad preservatives. So we don't have to throw 10 preservatives in a product. But because of all of that, we are a breastfeeding and pregnancy safe brand. So a lot of the intention of that goes into our brand. And even the name, Emogene, is actually my middle name and my daughter's middle name. And that was my grandmother. And she was one of those ladies that we all know, all of our grandmothers were probably like this, but a dying breed of this beautiful Q-tip hair, with pressed slacks, and just this beautiful woman who was in her garden every day and could create something beautiful from nothing. And so that is what it really pulls through our brand, and just bringing in the earth and the natural derivative of actual ingredients from the earth that work to improve your skin.
I have like chills from the way that you described your grandma because I know exactly that type of person.
Uh-huh.
I love this mission so much because I used to do beauty PR back in the day, and I actually didn't really know anything about beauty or skincare until I dove into it. And then I became obsessed with the idea of skincare because I learned so much. You need to learn a
Mhm.
lot before you actually start pitching things. So I started realizing there's a lot of greenwashing. I also started realizing that there's a lot of labels that are just there for the trends. Like it'll say like
Mhm.
collagen skincare or like retinol or like vitamin C, basically like what you were saying. I'm sure you have so many things to say about each one of those items, but like what can we look at from maybe a consumer perspective? Obviously, we are here listening to you and like I fully trust your brand. And if you're somebody out there that doesn't really want to do the education, just like go straight to Emogene. But if you have questions for yourself and maybe you want to like, go to the beauty store, you like trying new products, what can we look out for?
If you're looking at a brand, my recommendation and opinion would be, does this brand have enough really robust resources for the education of their products and their ingredients that they're using, rather than just pushing out 50 products for the purpose of making a financial gain. A lot of the integrity of our brand, and I've, as we've grown, this has been a really big growth year in a lot of ways, which, creating a business and having a science background, to be a pharmacist, you got to be able to be self autonomous with your time, very disciplined, good time management, but being able to kind of go into different places to learn. Business is not one of those. We are science nerds. And so, really having a lot of crash course business um, understanding and learning along the way has helped me. But what it also has opened up for me is the absence of the integrity going through the brand and really speaking to a consumer, and instead really focusing on just the marketing aspect to have a financial gain. And that is something that I've seen kind of thrown at me this year, of a lot of opportunities, a lot of people that are like, you have lightning in a bottle with your company, let's blow it up. That's never my intention. I did not create this business to blow up for financial purposes. It was mainly for giving back in a different way. I mean, I'm still a pharmacist. The skin is an organ, it is our largest organ. Versus, I'm so used to focusing on the brain for patients. And so, making sure that people have the resources available to them to know how to choose what is important for their skin health is a really, really big piece of the mission for me.
Mhm.
So, I would say, as a brand, if they have really great resources of knowing how to educate, I would say even when you go down to the product listing, whether that's online or within their store, um, them guiding you through the right applications, which is what we really focus on. Because if you were to apply certain skincare products on top of others that actually cannot penetrate through, there is no purpose in that. You just threw money down the drain. And I do a lot of focus on double cleansing, on moisture sandwich, which is kind of like a purpose of thinnest to thickest applications. So things actually occlude and hold moisture and hydration and active ingredients in the skin to penetrate where they do the job. And then knowing what ingredients can actually harm your skin if used together. Those are all pieces for me that we will consistently always communicate as we grow. I think that is where a lot of brands, if they start to grow, those are aspects that go away because there's not a financial gain for them in that versus just selling more units of a product. So, really great resources for education will always be number one that I think is important. And then also, are there any conflicts between what product offerings they're having? You should not have seven different moisturizer options. Even though skin types are very different, there's different ways to use those things based off a skin type. So I think that really focusing on the skin type and education of what moisturizer or what active treatment or what cleanser works for them, you should probably not have more than 3 to 4 of those options. So when there's brands that are just pumping out new products just to have different options for financial gain, that's just where I start to focus on, well, how do you help the consumer know what is best for them? And if there's no guide there, that again is kind of iffy to me. If you are someone that is unaware of how to know what ingredients are good for your skin, knowing that you can go to a brand that has even their communication through their brand. would be really, really important too, just for questions. Even large brands, are there options to go somewhere there? And whether it's a skincare quiz, whether it's guides for their skin type, these are things that we do. A blog that's really wonderful. Just all of those aspects for a customer to know. I also know that there's a lot of customers that are like, "Hey, just tell me what to put on my skin." If the guidance is very streamlined within a brand of allowing the customer to easily choose what they need, that's a really great place to start too. But when there's a lot of noise and chaos, it does nothing but confuse someone, and then they spend so much of their hard-earned money on products that probably weren't even meant for them in the first place.
Yeah, I love what you just said. I just want to echo this because it is such a lack of education. Like me, even just being in the beauty industry, coming from a PR perspective, there were so many brands out there that just don't give the education forward facing, and they'll have all these options, like you mentioned, and it can actually
Mhm.
harm your skin, which is so crazy. So if you are out there listening to this and you are also a skincare junkie that likes to go play around in Ulta or something like that, I love to do that. Make sure that the brand has education of like how to use the products. So
Mhm.
we're going to transition to more of like the business questions. We could talk probably health and wellness all day and like
I
skincare, but we love to talk about visibility for the brands. So I know Bridget has a question. I'll let her ask first.
Well, you mentioned in the beginning that it was so grassroots. Like you didn't have the website, it was all word of mouth. And I think for our audience, hearing the journey of a brand's journey to visibility, like what were all those little pieces of the puzzle? Because the way that we see it, it always compounds. It starts off as something small, and then this person tells this person, but then you start to implement and put all these foundational pieces of your business in place, and it starts to grow. So, yeah, kind of guide us through the trajectory of going from no website to going from a beautiful website, well known, you
Ooh.
have press, you have socials.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This could be 28 hours of a podcast, but if I was to speak more from a 40,000 foot view, I speak at business schools in Nashville. I'm a preceptor for several business schools as well as pharmacy schools here, and I do a presentation regularly about 5 ways to pivot your dream into your career. And because that's what I did, I just completely took a left turn. And within that presentation, I think those are probably some things that would be helpful here to share. You have to have gumption. You have to have so much self discipline and time management skills before you ever even start something like this. I'm crazy. Like I can run on 4 hours of sleep a night. Not everybody can do that. And it required so much time, grit, putting blinders on and not letting any outside noise really skew you. Imposter syndrome can be really big here. So those are just little basis pieces of a personality that you really have to get clear on why you're creating your brand, because you will always have to come back to your why all the time. No matter how ridiculous that might sound, before you get into the nuts and bolts of the growth of something on a business scale, you have to know what your why is, because when you're in that exhaustion of, I've worked all day as a pharmacist, I've come home, I've done dinner and bath time with my toddler, and then I have gone into now putting a different hat on, and I'm formulating and creating and doing this till 3 o'clock in the morning. I did this every day for an entire year, and then I'd be back at the hospital the next morning at 7 o'clock. It was just nuts. I don't know if I could do it now, but that why is your driver. So that is number one. Number two, understanding that it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to really help you know what you don't know, at least in my aspect. I surrounded myself with very successful business people, not even within a skincare space, but people that knew what it took to get their business off the ground. Never being afraid to ask questions to these people. The worst thing someone can say is no or not reply to an email or a call. But as long as you're putting yourself out there to ask, to find out the things that you don't know. Um, Podcast, really wonderful business podcasts were always very key for me, just as I'm going to and from different events or going to my actual job. I would soak up so much education with those things. So for me, as I grew it out of the house, and I, when you're bootstrapping on your own, I've never taken any private investment. There's certain things that you're like, where do I spend my money first as this business grows? For me personally, that was a bookkeeper and an accountant, so they could guide me financially as I needed to make bigger purchases, whether that was equipment, staff, ingredients, things like that. Um, then I did not hire my first employee until after a year. And then as you grow a team, you don't need to grow a team, spend a ton on marketing and advertising, on a website design, things like that, unless you have systems and operations and processes in place. Now, if I went and spent, I'm just going to throw an arbitrary number out there, $25,000 on an ad spend of a business that I had not enough employees to keep up with the product and what is needed to know that you've got documentation of what your products are, um, knowing that they're safe, what you're pushing out. If you don't have good quality product and you don't have enough of it, there's no point in advertising a company that then you can't deliver. So really being clear about those steps that you have to have in place, which is you have to have your kitchen in order before you ever are feeding at the restaurant. So those are big pieces for me that I was very organically slow, and I run fast, like I mentioned. So these were really big learning curves for me to know that you start small and you grow from there. As you grow a team, that is where you start to be able to delegate, whether that's childcare, whether that is, delegating for us, that's helping in assisting formulation, whether that is helping with emails, customer service, shipping. It doesn't matter what it is, but to grow that team, you do have to delegate, but you have to have all of those systems and processes in place first. Um, as I left my home, because again, our house had become warehouse liquidators. I mean, it was beyond. I think I almost burnt my kitchen down a couple of times. It was just a whole situation. And when it finally was time for me to move and really grow this in a substantial way, my story is I started to do a search for, properties and, what did I want to do? Did I want to rent a property? Did I want to purchase a property? Being a farmer's daughter, I know how important properties are. And it just so happened that a really lovely, wonderful property. I mean, we are in the country in a beautiful wooded space, and that owes to the beauty of the products. Um, I purchased that. I thought I was going to have a heart attack for a solid 6 months. Here I am purchasing a property. I, I was doing exactly what I just said. I was worried about doing. Like, am I putting money into places that don't need to be put into yet? But I did need a facility, and it was a wonderful purchase. It allowed me to then produce more, hire the people that I needed, have the space for all of our carrying of our products, having organization of everything that we have here. Being a manufacturer, it's a whole different ball game. So as I purchased the property, as I hired the team, then everything is a ball that starts rolling. And when there are business decisions to make that maybe I've never made before or someone's never made before, that team that I was saying is very important for you to have a really good business mentors and people you trust their opinions and their advice. That is where those people come back into play. At least they did for me. A safe space for me to say, "Hey, I'm considering X. What are your thoughts on this? Maybe, I haven't thought about it in this way." And just being able to have a discussion about what that looks like as you continue to grow. Um, from there, I mean, I don't even know what direction to focus on because there's so many pieces of the puzzle for this business. But I would say after the first year and seeing what socials and organic growth did, I never went into a marketing and ad budget. I was like, we're not ready. We are a slow growing company, which means it allows us to have the time for those systems and those processes to really be put into play. So when the growth does happen, we don't have to light our hair on fire and really be scared about it all. So I invested in someone to build a beautiful website. I was very clear on the intention of what I wanted this company to be, which was not a brick and mortar, but really an e-commerce site full of opportunities and resources for the customers to trust the brand and trust me as the founder, but also the chemist. And so that is where I probably spent a really good amount of money and time and intention in who I hired. And then from there, really being aware of more of like not just a business owner, but also a consumer. If I was consuming this brand, what are the things that I need? What are the things that I would need to know to make a safe purchase, a safe trust in this company? And when you ask that question to yourself, it will open up a whole different ball of wax and a different playing field of knowing the next right group of people to align to help delegate in those areas.
I love the way you basically painted the picture of really taking everything business visibility step by step. So, what I'm hearing is solid foundations first. Don't
Mhm,
run before you walk. Have all your ducks in a row, which is something we talk about a lot too. Like, we do not tell our clients jump into PR unless your branding is on point, unless your brand positioning
mhm.
is on point. We talk a lot about getting the foundations in place so that it is successful. So can you tell us a little bit about like we have the business in place now. We know all, we have the foundations, all the things. What did it kind of look like for Emogene to start taking like I guess wind or where people were like talking about the products? Like what did the visibility journey look like? Because you have like a decent amount of followers. I see your ads. Like I love your products. It's really impressive to see how you've grown such a like beast of an amazing like skincare brand from really just grassroots and literally making it in your kitchen. It's amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. It's full chaos. I mean, it is full chaos. You have to really embrace that chaos, no matter how much of the foundation has to be there. It still comes wrapped in a chaos bow because there's a lot of pieces to feed each of the things that you need within your operations and your processes. Our visibility story is really interesting. I am a very extroverted person. I am happy to be the face of my brand because it's my baby, right? So I know exactly how to help customers understand. Really, what's helped us is a fantastic quality product. You can have the best people advertising your brand, but if you don't have a quality product, it won't matter. You won't have a repeat customer. Our customer base is loyal to a T. We have 4 years, it's a 4-year-old brand. We have 4 years of conversion rates that I've learned so much about an e-commerce brand that is in the top 1.5% of all Shopify e-commerce sites worldwide. And the reason why that is because of how we handhold our customers. We do a lot of personalization within our orders. That will never change as it grows. And the way that we don't change that is we just become more efficient in the way that we provide our customer service. We do personalized regimen cards when customers purchase from us. We have masking guides that go in every time they buy a mask. We have skin type guides. We have brochures for them to know exactly how to communicate with us. So there's a lot of those pieces I think that are important that helped our visibility. And word of mouth is still the best grower of a product based market. Now, obviously, we are in a digital era. Everything is very different than it was in our parents' and our grandparents' age. And so, knowing how to really produce a brand that digitally, whether that's social media, whether that's in any ad space, is really showcasing what they're all about, takes a very fine tooth comb to really make sure that pictures or ads or anything like that are really executing your brand correctly. But to me, word of mouth is still our strongest way that we have grown. And I'm so proud of that because if I have a soccer mom who, I know our demographic, and I also know that our median price point is a very accessible, attainable price point compared to a lot of brands, but our quality is so high. And I created it that way for people like my mom and sister who are not going to be super compliant with their skincare, but they're also not going to spend $300 on a serum. I want it to be really attainable for people to know how to take care of their skin as an organ. And so that integrity runs through. And I think having that stability in your brand and never changing that allows that word of mouth to be so strong. So when I've got a soccer mom who has been using, 5 products, let's say, for 6 months to a year, and she might not have a lot of followers, she might not be a really big consumer of certain brands online, but she can showcase beautiful skin with no makeup on because she feels confident in it at a soccer game, and then have 6 moms ask her, "What are you doing for your skin?" That to me means everything, because that means that what I've created from a very loving place is now showcasing for her, by her, and then that is what brings in people. So I know that that seems like a very small task, but it really is still the best driver for our business. We have an ambassador program, so these are people that truly love the brand. When we accept ambassadors in, so they're able to share about the brand really, really well. And then the visibility, I would say, otherwise, is really learning how to showcase that brand online. So when people come, it's an easy website to understand. They feel good about what they're looking at, they feel good about how they're purchasing. All of that still plays into the visibility. We did not start running ads until about 4 weeks ago. If you want to know the honest truth, this has been the one space where I'm very, very intentional, because I don't want to push ads or marketing for our brand and then dilute our brand. Our brand is a very niche, very bespoke company. I like to have people that come to our brand because they've heard about it rather than pushing into big box stores. I really want to create a community here that people feel very comfortable and they feel taken care of when they come here. And that is not something I ever want diluted. And I think doing that in a digital world, and a marketing spend or ads, is something that I want to be very careful about. So I'm just intentional about every single decision that's made and the visibility of the brand.
And it's so obvious too. Like every single thing that you've shared with us too, it's like it's been strategic, it's been methodical. It's also been from the heart, which I love. And as we start to round out this conversation, I am curious, like what are the goals that you have for the company while still keeping the integrity, which is obviously important for you, keeping the personalization, not
Mhm.
adding all the preservatives because you want to go on a mass level. So yeah, what are some of the goals that you have for the company?
The goals that I would have is literally to continue this growth in a way that allows us to continue what we're doing for our customers. Obviously, when anyone creates a brand, no matter what it is, the goal is growth. The goal is to really give this to more people because you believe in what you're creating. That is our goal as well. But I never want to sacrifice our integrity or sacrifice our operations or the quality of our products to get there. So I'm a very big slow and steady wins the race person now, no matter how fast I run, because as a business owner, you wear so many hats. It's insane. I mean, as a pharmacist, I worked 12 to 14 hours a day. I mean,
Mhm.
I work 18 hours a day now, no matter what, but I love it because it's feeding me and it's feeding other people with desire and like creativity. I don't want to lose that. And I think that the minute that a business or a brand owner who is on fire because of their creativity starts to lose that, they need to pull back to go back to their why. And I've had to do that a couple of times as growth has really happened fast at certain times. And I'm like, okay, I am burning out. I need to go back. I need to pull back. But to play that game is still something that you still want to grow, to give it to more people. So growth, but the right way, is still the goal for me. I don't have any intention of really wanting to be in a really large big box stores. Like I said, I love what we have as a brand and the way that it looks to our consumers and the way that they can access us. And so I don't have any plans on changing that. But being able to hire a great team that believes in the brand is, as we've grown, is huge. I mean, I started with just me and now we're up to 15 people, and making sure that we're doing that the right way, of people that are family for us, that continue to believe in the brand to grow, is a really important part of who is producing these products. Um, I think being able to share our story of, everything that goes into this story of my brand is really important for me as it grows. I have a wonderful life. I love what I'm doing. I am able to, I mean, my daughter, Parker Imogene, is the whole goal is to leave this company to her one day if she wants this. And she's a part of the brand. She's on payroll. She's only 7 and she comes out and she will lot our bottles and she will heat seal and
Oh.
yeah, and she's like, how long do I need to do this to get, X amount of dollars? And we will tell her and she thinks that she's just part of the girls, and that for me is teaching her hard work ethic. It's showing her a mom that works hard. It's showing her how to give back to people and how to work on a team. And as a mom, that to me is there's no price for that. And for her the other day, she's the most precious thing. She's a bull in a china shop like I am. And I think she pulled like a towel rack off the wall and she was so upset. And I was like, baby, it is okay. We can put this back on the wall. Like, don't cry. She goes, but you worked so hard. And in that moment, I thought to myself, I'm doing something right for her to see everything that I believe in and everything that I'm creating for her one day if she wants that. So the long-term goal would be to leave this to my daughter for her to continue our story, our family heritage, and to give back if she wants that. But she's learning the ropes as she starts.
You are the walking, living proof of creating a beautiful brand culture. It's so
Oh,
funny. Like, I don't even think you realize. So, we have a mutual friend. I should have honestly started with this. We have a mutual friend, Jess Co, who is just amazing. But, anyways, I was
the
over her
best.
house. She's the best. I was over her
The
house the
best.
other day and I was like, oh, I have this little dry spot on my arm. She's like, oh, hold on one second. Let me get the healer all purpose balm and we'll put it on there. I'm not even kidding you. And so
Yeah.
it's just funny to me because all of the things that you are doing, you're so clear and you are very good at your message and therefore your clientele literally knows how to speak. Like Jess was literally acting as this like amazing old grandmother that knows the products from the garden and she's like, "Okay, let me tell you what this does." And she's putting it on my arm, you know? So it's so beautiful to see. So thank you so much for being just an absolute amazing person who has amazing products, also showing people how they can create a very strong brand and brand image.
That was
Where
like
can
a
we
master
find
class
it?
also.
It
Like,
was
I
Oh
think
my
amazing.
everyone's
gosh.
going to love this, seriously.
You're
It's
so
so good.
sweet.
We mean it.
Honestly, thank you. Lydia, like what you said, like that's what I live for is, and I know that that's still, in this world where we are just all about really fast results and we're there for like, scrolling and we're saturated with so many things. I definitely come from the place of the heart where it's my family and it's what I create. And so having customers that know the story and know everything about a product that they're sharing with friends, that might be a slower way to grow, but it's still the best way to grow. And that is what it's all about for me is giving back and cheerleading for each other. And that makes my whole day. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Relationships, they're the best way to grow. So, where can we find your amazing brand? Where can we purchase your products? Tell us all the things, and we'll have all the links in the show notes. So, for all of our listeners, it'll be very easy to go and purchase the products if you're interested.
I love it. You can follow us on social media on Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, and Instagram, Emogene Co. Or you can go to our website where it's got everything that you would want, robust and a lot of resources at imogenandco.com.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you everyone
Thank
for
you.
listening to another amazing episode of Visibility Era, the podcast.